Sheraton Kampala today, and we are taking part in the Risk Supply Development Workshop. Jerome Paulson is already there, and in a few minutes we are going to be speaking to Eva Mpalampa, who happens to be the head of oil and gas business and commercial plan. Now, earlier on, we spoke to Ms. Jessica Chene, who happens to be the national content specialist at the Uganda National Oil Company, and she broke it down for us and gave us some insights into what today's workshop is about. And partnering with the two parts of Stanbic and Equity Bank, now we are going to be first of all speaking to Stanbic and how Stanbic is going to be helping suppliers, especially those that could have missed out on opportunities and how best they can tap into this. So make sure that you stay with us because we bring you, like we say, every single detail. Sonko is at Sheraton Kampala, and he is going to be discussing with, again, Eva Mpalampa, who happens to be the head oil and gas business and commercial plans. And of course, if you are interested, my friend, you might want to find out what you are missing for your own good. Let's take a look.
Good morning once again, and thank you very much for watching Smart Means Business. Thank you very much, Andrew Berige and Shantala Kandinda. Of course, I'm still coming to you live from the Kampala Sheraton Hotel. Like we did tell you earlier on in the morning brief that we are at the Unoc, that is the Supplier Risk Development Workshop here, and it's the fourth workshop this particular year, but this particular one is targeting the risks that are attached to the suppliers. And at this particular moment, we are joined by an official from Stanbic Bank. This particular one, the major financial stakeholders in the sector. And with me here I have Eva Mpalampa coming in from Stanbic Bank. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Jerome. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
All right. Briefly tell the viewers out there how Stanbic Bank comes in this particular workshop.
Okay. So Stanbic Bank Uganda has a vision and a mission. And it's Uganda is our home, we drive our growth. Okay. Now, we know that oil and gas is extremely key in driving the growth of Uganda. This opportunity presents a 7% opportunity to grow our GDP. So as a bank, what we want to do is to be able to contribute to that GDP growth. And how can we do that? We need to be able to support the local contractors in whatever way we can. And therefore, we'll be playing our role in driving Uganda's growth. So that is why we've positioned ourselves quite well in Uganda's, in the oil and gas industry, to be able to spur that growth.
Okay. And looking forward, just in the morning I was told this time around they want to look at the suppliers. Unoc wants to look at the suppliers because there are lots of risks attached to that. So what is Stanbic Bank going to offer to most of the suppliers, majorly who are supplying to the oil and gas sector?
Yeah, that's a good question. So as I mentioned, we've positioned ourselves and we've been on this journey even before it started for about 8 years. And what we're doing is we've understood the industry, we've understood, how it's operating, and we've been able to prepare for we call them suppliers or contractors. We have a preposition available for them. So what we're saying is we know their profile, we know that one will be required to have much more capital than you've ever had before. We're saying you can come, we can have a discussion, we can do that. You'll need to be able to present a guarantee. Let's have a discussion on that and let's support you with something. You'll need some form of working capital finance. We can do that for you. So having understood how everything ties together, we're able to discuss with you and give you a tailor-made solution so that you can participate properly in the sector.
You as the financial stakeholders in here, are there any risks that you're worried about or things that you're looking at and clearly feel that if we can deal with them this way, we're good to go with Uganda's oil and gas? Because most of the Ugandans are really excited about the developments from the sector.
I wouldn't say risks that we're worried about. Okay. There are things, there are potential risks, but they can be mitigated. So for example, all the different contractors need to be able to understand the contract they're entering to. They need to be able to perform. If they do not perform, then there's a risk that the project will not be completed, and on this side they won't also be paid. So in order to perform, you need to be able to have a good working synergies within the team. You need to be able to deliver on the different milestones. You need to be able to have the capacity. You need to have the right insurance in place. So everything needs to come together for you to be able to perform, which then leads to the contract completion. The other thing is that we've seen there's a really strict timeline. There's a that there's a time frame within which you must have delivered. You need to make sure you have planned earlier to make sure you fit within that time frame and be able to deliver the contract. Everything is hinged around performance relating to delivery of the project.
Okay. Then lastly, future prospects from Stanbic Bank looking at the oil and gas sector. 2025 is a year that we are all excited about. Maybe that is when we shall be receiving our first drop of oil. Where are the future prospects of this sector? And from the banking point of view, how best can we Ugandans feel proud of being in such an era?
Yeah, that's a good thing. Obviously, we're definitely, you said, we're looking forward to Fast Oil 2025, right? But the journey too will have spurred a lot of development. Roads have been done. If you've been to the oil region, the government has done a fantastic job. The roads have already been done. That's already development. That means that a truck, someone transporting food to and fro, there's already an open business opportunity there. We need to see that. So the journey too presents a fantastic opportunity out of it. An airport is being built or completed. What does that mean for the people staying in the region? I think the after effects of the development of oil and gas will have spurred development growth. People will have gotten skills that they never had before. People will have gotten business opportunities and experience they have not had before. With that knowledge, then what can you do? How do you grow your business out of that? So for me, that is what's exciting about this opportunity.
Thank you very much, Eva, and thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
All right.
Pleasure.
All right. Indeed, thank you very much for sticking to Smart Means Business. We've told you earlier that we'll be giving you all the updates as it's happening here at the workshop, live from the Kampala Sheraton Hotel. So just keep your eyes glued on Smart 24 TV. We're on mainstream, channel 372 on DSTV and channel 394 on Go TV, giving you all the updates as we continue to track Uganda's journey to the first drop of oil in 2025. We shall be bringing you all those details and all that matters Uganda's oil and gas. Have a good one. Taking you back to studio with Barija Andrew and Chantal Akandinda. But tonight in the bulletin, we shall be giving you a full detailed report on this particular workshop. Have a good day.
Was Jerome Paulson called live at the Kampala Sheraton Hotel and bringing to you all details you need to know about what is happening and how suppliers are being equipped with the knowledge to be able to, perform properly or perform to efficiency and effectiveness for this oil and gas sector to work properly. Time comes for us, especially after hearing from Eva Palamba, who is the head of oil and gas, that is business and commercial clients.
Yeah. Actually, my take home is understanding, because you talked about the necessities that you need, because as a small intermediary enterprise, despite the fact that you don't have the capacity to participate, at least for you to get that support from the financial institutions in form of loans, there are requirements that actually you need to
have, yes.
And when we look at 2025, so now we're in 2022, so those are are they 3 years?
3 years from
yeah,
now, yes.
3 years of proper preparation to ensure that you have the required working capital?
No, actually, we are already, if I may say, we are already in the process.
In the process.
Yes, contractors are being sought out.
Exactly.
There are those that are already working. I mean, if you're talking about roads that have been constructed, especially geared towards the oil, improving the oil and gas sector or enabling it, then people have already started working. And then the challenge, maybe initially the challenge was people were not aware of the opportunities that were available, and that is what this is what Jessica Chaina was talking about. That they've held workshops to help Ugandans who are not aware of the opportunities and how they can tap into the opportunities. I would like to commend Stanbic Bank, one for being strategic, two the fact that they always look out for the people.
Yeah.
How do they support the people? And she mentioned that the oil and gas sector is going to help our GDP grow by 7%.
Yeah, 7%. Yeah.
7%. That is for the country. And how good would that be that we want to take part in this growth? And being on this for 8 years, that means they have built the experience. That is number one. They have also had the time to study the trends in the market as a bank, and how they can come in to help the different individuals. So I would love to commend Stanbic Bank for, I think this is a very strategic, very good for development, for especially for our supply industry, supply actually, so for suppliers and service providers industry.
believe that we need more financial players into this to ensure enough capacity.
Right.
Actually, Ariel, that was in April, Unoc, the international oil company, still entered into an MOU with Equity Bank.
Equity Bank, yes. So far there is two banks.
Actually,
Equity and
Stanbic
yes.
Bank. So I think, but now, if these players are doing their job, I mean, building strategies to make the work of the suppliers easy, I would really urge the suppliers to really get to understand what they are getting into. You know, I liked what Ivan Power was saying, that they should know what they are heading into, because there are risks,
that are associated.
Yes, timely frame. I mean, putting a time frame on executing a contract. I believe those are some of the challenges we've encountered with our SMEs, not only just the oil and gas sector, but also other sectors. Cutting across. But that is something they should really take home and take great notice of.
Right, so if you are looking to get something from the oil and gas sector, you, my friend, might want to, first of all, do some consultations and also make sure that you attend these workshops. Just to let you know, we will be bringing you every single detail in our bulletin tonight, so make sure that you do not miss every exclusive that you want, every information that you want. We have it, and we're going to be availing it, so that in case you want to take part in this oil and gas sector, you know where to start from. There is lots and lots of opportunities, direct and indirect, if I may say. And they say for you to make it, it's for the wise. So you gotta wake up in the morning and be wise about it. But Stanbic Bank has a lot to offer in this case, and first of all, they understand the need of the suppliers, and they will be giving you tailor-made solutions and guaranteeing support when it comes to how best you can achieve working in this sector. We are going to be taking you back to Kampala Sheraton, and we promise we'll be giving you every detail of what is happening at this workshop. So in case you couldn't make it there, don't worry, Smart Men's Business is there for you, and we are here to give you all the details. Jerome Paul Sonko is doing a wonderful job right there, and we're going to be taking you back to Kampala Sheraton. You will be seeing what is happening, and who have we talked to this time, and what do you have to take home for yourself.
Over the Pelican and Crane area. Moving into the midstream, Unoc will hold up to 40% stake in the refinery project, which is a 60,000 barrels of oil per day, and it will be located in Kabale, Buseruka, Hoima district. And the part of the project is the final product pipeline, which is a 210 kilometer from Kabale, Hoima to Nababula to the Kampala storage terminal. Unoc, through the National Pipeline Company, is mandated to hold a participating interest of up to 15% in the East African crude oil pipeline on behalf of government. ECOP is a 1,445 long-heated pipeline that will transport crude from the Tilenga and the Kingfisher project from the delivery point that will be located in Kabale, Hoima, and to the Indian Ocean port of Tanga in the United Republic of Tanzania. Shareholders to ECOP are Unoc, Total Energies, Sinop Uganda Limited, and the Tanzania Petroleum Development Corporation in Tanzania. In the downstream, Unoc is mandated to develop, manage, and operate storage terminals, and also hold national strategic fuel reserves to ensure security of supply. We are currently managing and operating the 30 million litre capacity Ginger storage terminal that is located in Ginger, and we have completed a master plan for the 320 million litre capacity Kampala storage terminal that will be located in central Uganda. Our long-term strategy is to develop storage terminals in other regions of the country. Unoc will also manage the promotion of the planned Kabale Industrial Park. The industrial park will host the refinery, an international airport, petrochemical industries, and energy-based industries, among other supporting infrastructure. And again in the downstream, Unoc is involved in bulk trading to generate revenue and also to build capacity in trading operations. To date, the company is generating revenue and continues to explore different mechanisms to grow the bulk trading business. Going back to the focus of today, and that is the risk management or risks in the oil and gas sector. The oil and gas industry is one of the most capital-intensive businesses and is considered one of the riskiest industries and arguably one that faces several challenges. As suppliers in the oil and gas industry, it's important to understand what risk is all about, its importance, key risks in the sector, and the best practices to develop or adopt in our companies based on established industry practices. In simple terms, risk can be defined as the effect of uncertainty on objective or what one is set out to achieve. The effect means the impact, which can be positive or negative, or it can be both. And uncertainty means that one is not sure of what might happen in the future and is concerned about the likelihood of occurrence of an event. Risk, therefore, is things that might or could affect the achievement of goals that one is set out to achieve. Oil and gas companies are exposed to many risks that have a major impact on their ability to operate successfully. I'll give a brief highlight of the key risks in the oil and gas sector, and these include the price volatility or fluctuating prices of crude oil and natural gas. And these are at project level. They can be operational or strategic. And price volatility affects the value of the resources or the reserves, and which can result in the projects being delayed or even cancelled. Also, it affects the capital investments on the projects and the costs. For example, the Russia-Ukraine war has affected the prices of crude oil, steel, among other commodity prices. As a supplier, you need to understand how these affect your business and the liabilities stipulated in your contracts, such as the cost of goods and services contracted to supply or under tender, and provide for mitigations. In such a case, contract management is very key for you as a supplier, and this may include renegotiating contract terms. Another risk that is major in the oil and gas sector is inadequate funding and the inability to raise the required capital. And this becomes so important for Uganda because the energy sector or the oil and gas sector is still new to us. And therefore, there is need for project financing. And project financing by financial institutions is becoming difficult to secure due to climate change activists. When you look at energy transition, financing for fossil energy projects is being limited and being refused. So it becomes difficult for companies to access financing. Another key risk in the oil and gas sector is related to health, safety, and environment. And these may include accidents, blowouts, or safety lapses which affect the upstream assets. They may result in injuries, loss of life, environmental harm, disruption of business, loss or suspension of permits, and even loss of license to operate. The other aspect of health and safety is related to the pandemics and epidemics. We're looking at COVID-19, the impacts of COVID-19, and so for Uganda's case, the Ebola. These increase project costs and may also delay project implementation. One needs to constantly monitor and manage these risks that are related to pandemics and epidemics, as well as prepare for business continuity, what happens after these epidemics, to avoid closure of the companies. The risk also is, the other important risk is climate change and energy transition. It's the talk of the town and everywhere in the world. With the global shift from fossil fuels to renewables and clean energy, it's a big risk that oil companies and even service providers need to prepare for. It may result into additional legal or regulatory measures, such as regulations on greenhouse gas emissions, and could increase compliance costs and restrict operations. As a supplier, you also need to demonstrate climate change policy and commitment to net zero or reduction in the greenhouse emissions. Other risks may include global activists. You have all heard about the ECOP, political risks, compliance risks, the dynamic regulatory frameworks, the limited talent pool in the industry because of the aging talent that is in the industry that is so specific to the oil and gas, and limited experience, particularly for Uganda. Being a new industry in Uganda, we need to really take care of that and mitigate that risk. Some of the ways we can do that is to invest in rigorous training of ourselves and staff, and also look at partnerships with other experienced and international companies to be able to gain the much needed experience. Managing the risks can be difficult, but it is not impossible. There is need to allocate resources, that is human, financial, as well as time, to oversee all operations and ensure that the risks are managed appropriately. Risk management is an essential part of every industry, not only for the oil and gas, but it is very strict for the oil and gas. And the essence of risk management is to protect the company's assets and reputation without undermining the profits. Risk management is about answering the 6 questions, just a little brief about risk management. And the first question is, what are you trying to do? Look at the sector you're involved in. Look at the objectives that you're setting. So you need to understand your business as well as the context and the operating environment. The second question that requires the answer is, what might affect the business? I am set out to provide goods and services to the oil and gas sector. What are those risks that I should look out for? And these are things that are here now or in the future that could hinder the achievement of the business objectives. This is about risk identifications to predict the risk and determine the causes. The causes can be financial, legal, technological, strategic management errors, accidents, or even natural disasters. The third question to provide solutions for is, which of the things that might affect the business are more important? Because not all the things identified are equally important. So one needs to look at risk analysis. How likely is it going to happen? How will it affect my business? What is the impact on property and people if this risk is realized? The fourth question is related to what should be done about the identified risk. You have identified the risk of limited financing. So what do you do? Are you going to sit back and relax and say there is no financing? So you need to identify and provide for mitigation measures. How do you go about that risk that has been identified? So this involves the need to decide on responses to the risks. What should be done to eliminate or reduce the risk to acceptable levels? The fifth question to provide answers for is, did it work? I have provided mitigation measures, but have they worked? So one needs to evaluate the actions taken to manage the risk to find out whether the risks were eliminated or reduced. the likelihood of the impact risk, and the ultimate goal of risk management is to eliminate or even reduce to acceptable levels. And number 6 question to find out solutions for is what changed. I've done all that. I've identified my risks. I've provided for mitigation measures, and I have looked at the mitigations, the measures. So what changed? This involves monitoring and reviewing the risk management process, going over and over again. Were all the risks identified? That is the question number 1. Were the mitigation measures adequate? Are there any residual risks after the mitigation measures? So these are the 6 questions that every entity must look out for and provide solutions for in order to manage risks in the businesses they are operating. And so it is important to note that risk management is not a one-time event. You're not going to say, I've done risk management, let me go and sleep. Things change. It's a continuous process that keeps evolving with time, and as such requires regular risk assessment to stay updated. And as such, companies, both oil companies and suppliers, should leverage on enterprise risk management, which is a holistic approach that includes strategic and operation risks, as well as financial, reputation, and compliance risks, to create a more comprehensive and balanced picture of the company's risk position. This will definitely enable the company to grow their business and stay competitive in the highly volatile market while reducing the harm and loss events. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are privileged to have quite a number of speakers on risk management. We are going to hear from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, the Uganda National Oil Company, Stanbic Bank, and Equity Bank on the different risks and their mitigations. We are really confident that this will form a firm foundation upon which Ugandan enterprises will ensure adequate risk management to thrive and stay competitive in the oil and gas sector. We look forward to your full participation. There will be Q&A sessions. Please feel free to ask any questions. We have competent teams that could provide solutions to the questions you will be asking. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for listening to me. For God and my country.
Well, that was Dr. Chichoncho, who is the head of exploration of new ventures, Uganda National Oil Company. So much to share, but I cannot break down everything. But the 6 questions, hopefully, the Ugandans have had.
Yeah.
But take home for me is, if you are doing the risk analysis right now, it's not just the end after doing the analysis.
Yeah.
You've figured out what the risks are, you've been educated. It's a continuous process.
Yeah.
After that, you're going to find ways, you're going to prepare for contingencies, you're going to prepare for mitigations.
Exactly.
And you're also going to prepare for assessments.
Perfect.
Continuous assessments.
Yeah.
And you're going to require reviews as well. Yeah. What would have been your take home if you were to join the oil and gas sector right now?
Well, very, very, very interesting. These other subcontractors, looking at other businesses that, for example, I could start up a restaurant. I've come to realize that one of the biggest risks into this industry is the aspect of volatility that we see of the oil and gas, and we see the effect of volatility according to the statement made right there, that it affects the value of the resources that's in the reserve. But then, if I come to realize this, I need to understand that it does not only, if the volatility comes into the if the volatility affects the oil sector,
right.
Looking at the prices fluctuating, that means in a way if I have my restaurant packed in somewhere, I mean probably close to the place where they refine the oil from, it's going to get back to me, because once these companies are not making the required money due to the risks that have been identified, I'll get to understand that, okay, this has a long-term impact. Now, to me, the biggest take-home is not just to look at my business I've put in that place, but also get to study the trends that are taking place, that are transparent within the oil and gas sector. If I get to study the trends and I get to know that there could be a fluctuation in the future, and this fluctuation is going to impact my business, I'll think of what to do.
That is why you have to prepare. You have to have contingencies.
Exactly.
That, just like she said. Well, we are taking you back to Sheraton, and like I said, every detail on today's workshop is going to be aired today. So let's see what is happening right now.
As the different suppliers and players in the sector that we have to adhere to. And we have the National Oil and Gas Policy of 2008. Now, as a supplier, these are some of the things that you need to be familiar with so that you can be able to know which laws should I adhere to, what should I do in order to be in compliance with the laws. And we have the upstream. For the upstream, where we have the exploration, development, and production. And here we have the Petroleum Act. And then we have the upstream regulations. Thank you. Then we have the upstream regulations. And then we also have the agreements, the post-government agreements under the midstream, the Petroleum Act for midstream. And then the downstream, there's the Petroleum Supply Act and the Regulated Supply Department under the Ministry of Health. Now, in regards to how we are organized as a sector, there are three main players. We have the ministry, which is really responsible for ensuring the policy formulation, the investment promotion, as well as the licensing. And these are done in such a way that to promote participation of the different oil companies. Then the Petroleum Authority, where I'm privileged to work, we regulate the sector and ensure that we monitor. Thank you. We regulate and monitor the upstream, midstream sectors, ensuring that the different players, the international oil companies, the Unoc as well, and the different contractors and subcontractors adhere to the different clause. And then Unoc, we've been able to hear a brief about Unoc, so I won't be able to go into it. Now, an overview of the sector. We have different key players from the private sector, and we have Total Energies, which is a $153 billion company. We have Sinop, we have Ama Energy, and then we have Unoc and Oranto. These are the ones that are currently participating in the upstream area. And the number of different opportunities in regards to exploration and appraisal, like the development and production, and then the refinery works. Now, where are we as a sector in regards to what is happening now? In February, we had an opportunity that the final investment decision for the oil and gas projects in Uganda was reached. And that decision opened up opportunities for over 15 billion to come into the economy over the next 3 to 5 years. Now, 2022 marks as if the key start for a lot of the infrastructure development, and we are hopeful that we'll be able to have first oil in 2025. As at the end of June 2022, we had about 99%, 78%, and 20% of the PAPs. In regards to Kingfisher, that's 99% paid off. Tilenga 78%, and then ECOP 20%. And contracts so far worth in the range of 6 billion have so far been approved. And of this amount, about 1.7 has gone to Ugandan companies. Now, in regards to ensuring that the sector projects are well started, there are a number of scopes that are supposed to sort of like prepare, lay a foundation for the projects to take off. And these enabling works have already started and are in progress. Now, some of the scopes, for example, in Tilenga include earthworks and concrete works. Now, these are, a lot of it is to ensure that the roads to the project areas are well done, the construction of the camps and facilities, as well as preparing where the well pads will be seated. Now, a lot of these have already been started and works are ongoing. As you can see here, some of the works that are going on at the CPF, as well as the bush clearing at the different well pads. Now, these works have been going on and they've progressed. And we are proud to say that there are a number of Ugandan companies that are participating in some of these works. Now, when you look at Kingfisher, we are also seeing that the construction of the well pads is well on track. They've installed conductor pipes for the first 3 well pads, and the construction of the cellar walls and padding is ongoing. And we are seeing that there's a progress of about 27%, 29% against the plan of 27. So we're already moving ahead of the actual schedule. And then when it comes to the EPC contracts, we have the field investigations already completed for EPC 2 and 3, and the number of geotechnical investigations. And similarly, we have also seen a number of Ugandan companies participating in these areas, and that is good for us as a country. Now, in regards to the Tilenga drilling, the first, second, and the third drilling constructions are at 97, 91, and 87% complete. So we've had one rig has so far arrived. It arrived in October. We hope that we'll receive a second rig in December and a third one in January of 2023. Now, what does this mean? It means the sector has really taken off, and now is the time, if you had any doubts about whether these projects are going to progress at the speed at which we were saying they would, this shows that we are really running as an industry. And in regards to the Kingfisher, reconstruction and commissioning is already completed. The rig is in Uganda and is already being erected, and the detailed engineering is already taking place in China. Then in regards to the Eco pipeline, now this is a pipeline that will be transporting our crude oil from Kabale all the way to Tanga. And in regards to how far we've gone, the detailed designs continue to be undertaken by Wally in London, and the progress for this is at 33%. The detailed design for the storage tanks has already been done and is going to be undertaken by DOCG in China. ECOP already applied for the construction license, and this is still being reviewed, and we hope it will be approved soon. Then the construction of the coating plant for insulating all the pipes is ongoing in Tabora. And then the geotechnical investigations at the marine terminal in Tanga is ongoing. And the land acquisition, both within Uganda and Tanzania, are all going on. And the construction of the resettlement houses is actually also ongoing. So there's a lot of things happening already. Then in regards to the refinery, a brief of this has been given, and they can be able to skip this. Now there's support infrastructure that is supposed to ensure that the projects flow seamlessly. Now, of these, we have 29 square kilometers of land in the industrial park in Kabale, which will be operated by Unoc. And then we have an international airport, which is being set up, and the works are 80% complete as of now, and we hope that it will be commissioned in February of 2023. Then a crude oil storage and transmission hub, as well as logistics warehousing and petrochemical industries are hoped to be set up within the industrial park. The airport is estimated to cost us about $500,000, about 500 million US dollars, and the network of roads, about 12 roads covering 700 kilometers, has also been set up, and the overall progress is at about 70%. So that the flow of goods as well as people in and out of the project areas is seamless. So a lot of infrastructure has been set up to ensure that our projects move on seamlessly. Now, in regards to the magnitude of the projects, how big are these projects and how much money is going to flow into the economy? As of today, as at the end of 2021, accumulating investment of about $4.8 billion has been made into the economy. 180 million in 2020 because of COVID, and 500 million in 2021. 2022, we are likely to see a much higher number because now the projects are really running. The launch of projects in April 21 and the announcement of a final investment decision in February of 2022 unlocked an investment of about 15 billion, and we are hopeful that within just the 2022 we should be able to see an actual spend of about $3 billion. And we are seeing a number of Ugandans participating, but of course we are always holding these different engagements to see that more Ugandans are able to participate in the sector. Now, after the initial 15 billion investments, we also hope to see an additional $40 billion expected over the next 25 years of operation and maintenance of the infrastructure that will be set up over the next 3 to 4 years. And all these provide a number of opportunities for Ugandans. As a petroleum authority, we hope that we can see at least 40% of this spend being retained in country or being executed by Ugandan companies. So what are some of the opportunities? We hope to see there are certain areas that have been ring-fenced for specifically Ugandan companies. Now, these 16 areas are specifically for Ugandan companies and only have external players where we have failed to have a Ugandan qualified to participate. Now, as you see that the circle, we have the more complex or more core services in the middle, and then we have the support services in the next layer, and then at tier 3 or the outer layer, the external support services. Now there are indirect services, which are the outside, then the direct, and then the specialist services. Now, as a Ugandan supplier, you can be able to play across all these different areas. But we have tried to ensure that when it comes to the indirect services, majority of those, as you can see, are ring-fenced for Ugandans. And these are areas that we are hopeful that you can comfortably play in. We have the capability, we have experience, and we hope to see Ugandans participating. However, if you are able to also participate in the direct and specialist services, that is an added advantage to us as an economy. Now, what are some of the things that we are doing in order to enhance private sector participation? There are a number of pillars upon which national content is based. And here we look at what are the core pillars and what are we doing. Now, in regards to employment of Ugandans, there are a number of regulations that specify how recruitment and deployment of expatriates should be done. For an expatriate to be given a work permit, we have to at least first see that these skills are not available in country and that no Ugandan can qualify. And if they do come, we ensure that they take knowledge transfer from the expatriate to some other people within the country. And then we've also developed a national oil and gas talent register, which enables all the different people who would like to work in the oil and gas sector to register, upload their certificates and skills, so that when any employer is looking for a talent for oil and gas, they can be able to view the talent that we have in country and then also do their recruitment of the talent register. And then we have what we call the nationalization plans, where we ensure that whenever we have expatriates, over a given period of time, they should pass on skills and knowledge so that these jobs in future, 2 to 3 years from now, can be done by local Ugandans. Then we also pay specific emphasis to skills development and training of Ugandans. And this is done through ensuring that the different oil companies submit and we review and approve their annual training plans, where they show us how they're going to develop their different staff, as well as people from the communities in which the projects are ongoing. And then there are also, on a regular basis, skills development dialogues. There is an Oil and Gas Trainers Association of Uganda, which has different universities, polytechnics, that is training people for oil and gas. And these meet on a regular basis to see that we can be able to, that the courses that they deliver add value to the requirements of the sector. And we work very closely with the National Council for Higher Education on curriculum to make sure the curriculums of the different enterprises actually are relevant to the sector. Then in regards to enterprise development, we are currently implementing an MSMEs linkages project. Now this one we are doing across the 10 ECOP districts, and we have so far managed to complete 4 districts. Our target was to train at least 200 enterprises across the ECOP district so that they can be able to build their capacity and participate. And from the 4 districts that we have completed, we have been able to train about 130 enterprises, and we hope we will be able to surpass that initial target of 200. Then on a quarterly basis, the oil companies and contractors hold workshops like this, supplier development workshops, where they disseminate the different opportunities that are coming up, as well as information on the standards that they require. So as a supplier, you need to pay a lot of attention in these workshops, because this is an opportunity to know what are the things that I should be doing in order to secure business from the different companies. And then we also do a lot of engagements with the different potential suppliers across the sector. And we are currently developing a community content strategy where we also try to see that there are opportunities that are also enjoyed by the people in the project areas. And we are also lobbying for the creation of a national content fund where we'll see people who have contracts in the sector getting access to affordable money to execute those contracts. Then as a Ugandan company, there's utilization of Ugandan goods and services. This is a priority. Now, we review bid evaluation reports and contracts and approve. And in doing this, I'll be able to give a brief on how, as a Ugandan, you benefit from these reviews. Then there's a national supplier database where each person who is participating in the sector should be registered on. Then we also review the procurement plans as well as the national content plans and commitments. Now the commitments are where the different companies promise that these are the things that we are going to do in regards to national content. So as a regulator, we try to follow up and ensure that the different national content commitments are actually honored. And in regards to technology transfer and knowledge transfer, here we promote joint ventures between Ugandan companies and foreign companies, because this is a new sector for us as an economy. But we want to see joint ventures where the Ugandans can be able to leverage on the experience of those who have been there before us. That way we don't make a lot of mistakes and we learn very quickly. Then we are also doing a lot of collaborations with universities as well as international institutions, so as to enhance the knowledge sharing and getting access to the different technologies. And then software as well as approving the technology transfer plans. Now, what are the key drivers for national content? As you see, a lot of there are opportunities at every level. For some of the IOCs have issued the EPC and attendant contracts. There are different tiers and different levels of opportunities. Now, the tier 1 contracts are the ones which are when you get an opportunity to get a contract directly from Unoc, from Total, from Sinoc, you'll be considered a tier 1 contractor. And if you get a contract from those people who have gotten contracts from the tier 1s, then you're tier 2. And then the ones below tier 3. Now, there are opportunities across all those different areas. So as a contractor, as opposed to just looking at what are the opportunities with Sinoc, with Unoc and Total, there are also opportunities for the different contractors who they have awarded contracts. Now, the construction phase is going to last for the next 3 to 4 years, and we'll have about between 11,000 to 15,000 people in the different camps that are going to be set up. All these people have to eat, and the way the camp life works is you're usually in for a period of time and then off for a certain period of time. So it's not likely that every time people break off, they'll maybe travel back, because a number of these are expatriates. They'll need to go into places of recreation for the period that they are off and then be able to come back into the camps. Then, so the next slide, please. Thank you. Then when it comes to the financing of the national content, as I told you, across the 4 core areas, under employment, we hope to see over 11,000 direct jobs from the main contractors, their contractors and subcontractors, and approximately 69 million man-hours of work, and 75% of those should be to Ugandans. Then in regards to skills development, we are seeing about budgets of over $20 million being earmarked for skilling of Ugandans across the 3 projects. And then we hope to set up an industrial enhancement center, a national content fund, and various supplier development workshops. Then in regards to the tier 1, about 6 billion has already been approved. 1.7 of those is going to Ugandan companies at level 1 and 2. So we already have Ugandans who are already participating and active in the sector. And what are some of the achievements? As of May, we said we are looking at about 11,000 direct jobs. 5,070 of those jobs have already been created, and there are people who are doing these jobs. Of those, 4,805 are Ugandans. So 95% of the people currently in the sector are Ugandans. Then we've seen about 389 out of the 4,584 contract and subcontract employees coming from the local communities. So already some of the people within the local communities are also enjoying. In regards to skills development, over 11,800 Ugandans have been trained in one course or another. And we have now seen international accreditation being brought closer. We are seeing companies who do international certification now coming and setting up in country. Over 200 government officers from different ministries and agencies have been trained in oil and gas related disciplines so as to ensure that we build our capacity to be able to effectively regulate and support the sector's development and growth. And we are currently updating the workforce skills development strategy to see that we have the relevant skills that are needed. Then in regards to enterprise development, we've signed MOUs and also contracted a consortium of 4 enterprises, including the Stanbic Business Incubator, Connexus Oil and Gas, Solid Rock, and Living Earth, to do the capacity building of at least 200 MSMEs. And we've had over 2,000 small, medium enterprises trained in various key oil and gas requirements. Then in regards to knowledge transfer, we've been able to oversee JVs, a number of joint ventures, as well as, now these are joint ventures that are already doing some work within the sector. So we've seen geotech solutions with Geo2 doing geophysical surveys, then Tech Lab and Geomechanics doing geotechnical site investigations, Atacama doing a JV with Synergy Consulting, and Nomad Socio-Economic Management and Consulting to do the social and resettlement services. So these joint ventures are already participating in the sector. And this can be one of the strategies that as an enterprise you take up to see how can I scale where you leverage on the experience of another partner so as to be able to get contracts and execute. Then we've also done, now these are the different JVs that have been approved for different works that have actually gotten business. But as of now, we've reviewed and approved over 60 joint ventures just between the start of the year and now. Then in regards to utilization of Ugandan goods and services, in the last years, approximately 90% of the different procurements across the sector have gone to Ugandan companies. That is about 1.2 billion out of the 1.35 billion that has been spent. And approximately 73% of the companies involved in supplies to the sector, that is 460 out of the 624, have also been Ugandan companies. So if your Ugandan company is wondering whether investing and trying to get business in the sector is a worthwhile venture, from this you can be able to see already there are Ugandans who are actively participating. And of this amount, close to $1 million has gone to the communities where those have been directly sourced from the local communities. So even if you're also based in one of the communities where the projects are happening, there are also procurements that are actually targeted to those particular areas. Now in regards to the participation across the years, as you can see from here, the participation of Ugandan companies vis-a-vis total companies, in 2017 we had a little over 60%, then we went up, and then you can see that in 2019 and 2020 there was a downward drop because of COVID and the lockdowns, but that has picked up in 2021, and like I said, 2022 we should see a much higher growth in regards to the participation of Ugandan companies. Now, some of the companies that are participating already, in regards to the Ugandan space, we have Three Ways, True North, New Plan, ICS, MSL Logistics, GCC. Now, these are different companies that have been able to bid and get contracts in the sector and are currently doing different scopes of work. So I'm hopeful that maybe in the next presentation we'll see some of you here on this slide. Then there are also opportunities for linkages in regards to other sectors that are not specifically oil and gas. So if you're here and you're in agriculture, you're in health, you're in housing, tourism, there are linkage opportunities that are worth an estimated about 8 billion that are going to come up. So for example, the opportunities in agriculture, commercial agriculture, because like we said, we are going to see about 15,000 people in camps who have to eat on a daily basis, quality meals, and they'll need to source this food from somewhere. So the opportunities around the cold chain, storage and transportation, food processing. Then in regards to health, emergency response, provision of on-site clinics, personnel, medical insurance, occupational health and services, and medical infrastructure services. So we've seen already if you've visited, let's say Hoima, Chikube, 3-4 years ago and you visit now, the transformation has been very, very fast. And there are a lot of opportunities, even when it comes to housing, provision of high-end housing for both office space as well as accommodation. Because not everyone who is working on the site will be in a camp. There will be people who will be staying near the project areas and will need to commute to and from. Then a number of companies are looking for office space within the project area so that they don't have to continuously transport their staff from Kampala to the project areas. So there's opportunity for office as well. Then when it comes to tourism and hospitality services, like I said, a number of expatriates are going to come through, and we'll see that they'll have to have fun somewhere after 2 weeks or a month in a camp and you've been working day and night almost. When you get off, you're looking for where can I go and relax to rejuvenate so that when I go back, I can still deliver as expected. Then there's also a lot of opportunities for earthworks, roads, building, and then also transport and logistics. So there's a number of opportunities across other sectors as well as a result of the oil and gas. And we are trying to push to see that these linkages also promote and benefit Ugandan companies. Now, what are some of we've been told the number of risks that come with non-compliance, but what are the things that we are supposed to comply to? Now, we have what we call the national content regulations, where we are supposed to, as the different sectors, different players in the sector, we have to adhere to the different laws that govern the sector. Now, in the slides ahead, we picked some of the key regulations that, as a supplier or someone who wants to be in the sector, what are some of those things that you have to pay special attention to? That if you didn't do could cost you a contract, could cost you an opportunity. Now, there's Regulation 9 which says priority should be given to Ugandan goods and services during procurement. Now, ideally, every licensee, contractor or subcontractor is mandated to give priority to goods that are available within the country. So as a first option, if I get a contract, I have to first source locally. And only if I fail to find what I'd like locally, then do I explore opportunities outside. Now, where the goods are not available locally or cannot be provided by a Ugandan party, then the next opportunity goes to a joint venture between a Ugandan party and a foreign company. Now, usually people would like to get into joint ventures but don't know what are the conditions, what do you look at before you approve. Now, when we are going to consider a joint venture between a Ugandan and a foreign, first things first, the law mandates that the Ugandan party should have a minimum participating interest of at least 48%. So as a Ugandan party, when you're negotiating a joint venture, the minimum stake you should have in the joint venture is 48%. And we look at, to avoid people getting into joint ventures where they cannot add value, we have, the Ugandan party needs to show that they have the technical and financial competence to be able to deliver in a timely manner, because still as a joint venture, you'll be required to deliver in line with the quality requirements of the sector. So you have to have the ability to do that. You have to demonstrate that there's going to be capacity and knowledge transfer from the international party to the Ugandan party. Because we hope that after working together as a joint venture for maybe 2 years, after that the Ugandan party, you can be able to stand on your own and execute similar works alone. Then you also have to show that you have some experience in provision of goods and services within the sector in which you're doing a joint venture. So if, for example, I have never done catering and maybe I'm in civil works and then I come and I want to do a joint venture in catering, it may not be approved because I do not have the experience and expertise in that area. Then the next regulation 11 on the National Supplier Database, a company cannot provide goods, works, or services unless it's registered and active on the National Supplier Database. Now we see a number of our Ugandan companies have that registered in 2018. The experience, their registration has since expired and they have not renewed. So you find when you're applying for your bidding, you're not considered because you're no longer on the qualified supplier list. So the qualification period is for 3 years, so you have to ensure that your qualification is actually up to date. If it's about to expire, you renew and update it. Then regulation 13 spells out the different principles for bid evaluation. Now, when it comes to bid evaluation for any oil and gas contract, national content, as national content, contributes 10% of the evaluation score. So there's an opportunity, as a Ugandan company, you should be able to score very highly when it comes to national content, because the Ugandan company, you probably employ 100% Ugandans rate too. So in regards to your national content, you'll score probably a bit higher than an international competitor. And that will help you earn at least 10%, which can make a significant difference when it comes to bidding. Then also, when we and these are evaluated on employment of Ugandans, use of Ugandan goods and services, as well as your proposals for knowledge transfer and capacity building. Now, when you bid at the end of your process, the difference between, let's say that this evaluated bidders is less than 5%, then whoever had the highest score on their national content will win the contract. So if, let's say, I'm competing and I scored 85, and then someone else scored 83 or 81% in the total scores, but the person who scored 81 had a higher national content score, their national content plan was better than mine, they should be awarded the contract. So government is willing to give up that 5% difference in the price to ensure that national content is put at the forefront of all that we do. Then we have Regulation 16, which is about priority of employment and training of Ugandans. So here, Ugandan citizens are given priority for employment in any petroleum activity executed by any licensee. So before a job can be taken to the international market, we have to first of all see that there was no Ugandan who could qualify. So before we issue out the work permit, this is a key consideration. That the market has been tested, we don't have the skills and knowledge, so we bring in someone who can then pass on these skills. Then Regulation 20 looks at requirements for succession planning. Now, this here ensures that for all those jobs that are not held by Ugandans, there's actually a plan to transfer these skills and knowledge to Ugandans so that in future they can be done by Ugandans. So here we have to, this is where the regulation that protects Uganda's interests in regards to ensuring that those jobs that are currently done by expatriates will in future be taken on by Ugandans. And then also, that regulation also ensures that if you're Ugandan and you're doing a job at the same level as an expatriate, then the remuneration should also be similar to ensure that there is value for your skills and experience. Then Regulation 21 looks at work permits for expatriates. Now you might be a Ugandan company, but you need to hire externally because those skills may not be available. So this regulation guides you on how you go about applying for a work permit for that expatriate that you'd like to bring in. And here you need to, first of all, get an approval from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and no objection for you to be able to proceed to internal affairs to approve, to get that work permit. And we do an analysis of the different work permit requests. We look at what's a job title, what are the qualifications for the person who is coming in, what job description is he going to do. Now this enables us to see that indeed this role could not be done by Uganda. Or maybe the Ugandans who have this particular skill set already employed are not willing to move. Then there's Regulation 28, which looks at reporting. Now, anyone who gets a contract within the sector is mandated to report on their performance to their contractor as well as to the regulator. Now, this will ensure that we'll be able to report a proper update on where we are at any given point. So the licensees report on a quarterly basis on how they have performed across the different commitments they have as well as national content. And naturally, all their subcontractors and contractors have to give input into that report. So as a contractor, you have to know that you are required to report on how you're performing to your client. And then that enables them to also provide timely reports to us. Then there's Regulation 31 that looks at monitoring of the national human capacity by the authority. So here we also ensure from time to time we monitor what are the skills and capacity that we have in country in regards to human resources and what can we do in the different technical areas. Because this guides how we will promote the training and capacity building efforts. Then Regulation 32 is really about compliance with the regulation. Now what happens in case you're a company and you're not complying with any of these different regulations? Now, when you don't comply, there's a number of risks for you as a business. The first one is you could, for one, get convicted and you would be given a fine not exceeding 5,000 currency points, that's about 100 million, and then an additional 500 currency points for each day that offense continues. So you will get an initial fine, and then if that non-compliance continues, every additional day it continues, you're also fined an extra 10 million for every day you continue to be non-compliant. Then there's also an option of suspending the license for the licensee. So when you do not comply, you also put the person who gave you the contract, the licensee, at risk of their license being cancelled or affected. But also, because now in most cases when you don't comply, if you're doing a certain scope of work, that work will be put on hold. Now, because of the way the industry works, what you do has an input into what some other person will do. So when you don't deliver, it sets off a chain reaction of non-deliverance. So you find that your non-compliance affects a number of things. Now, you might lose financially, you might have your registration on the supplier database revoked, so you can no longer supply the sector. You could affect your contractor or licensee by having them also removed and not having an ability to continue to supply the sector. Now, what are some of the challenges that we have seen for specifically the different suppliers, and what do we hope to do to mitigate those challenges? The first one, limited technical and financial capacity, especially for our local players, which affects your ability to effectively compete in the contracting and procurement process. Now here we are trying to see that we establish a local content fund in the long term so that it enables you to have access to affordable money to do these contracts. We are working hand in hand with the different IOCs to establish an industry enhancement center, which will be specifically trying to build the capacity of enterprises. Then continuous supplier development engagements, then dialogues with financial institutions to establish affordable packages for local enterprises, especially in the sector. Then we continue to promote joint ventures, because when you do a joint venture with a much bigger international party, chances are you can leverage on their financial capability to be able to execute works. And then also supporting different SMEs to attain the required certifications and standards. Then there's also limited human capacity to take up high-paying jobs. This one will continue to build the capacity of staff, reskilling of trainers. We're trying to now take an approach of trainers where we build the capacity of people who can then train other people within the sector. Now, as I end, the oil and gas sector is growing with these different projects that you've heard of and the unlocking of over 15 billion in investment. Now, these are opportunities that we need to ensure we take as Ugandans, as the different enterprises would like to participate. Now, but you need to be ready. You need to prepare yourself and be in a position to take up these opportunities. There are a number of benefits that are going to come through directly within the oil and gas sector, but then there are also opportunities of linkages. There are a number of areas that are going to grow as a result of the sector. Now, I'd encourage you to seek opportunities in partnerships and collaborations, not just with international firms, but even locally. If you have a player who is within your area and you feel you can collaborate, please do. Because we are in an area where the opportunities available are more than enough for us as Ugandans or as the suppliers in the sector. And if we collaborate, we have higher chances of getting these different contracts. So collaborate, do joint ventures so that you enhance your ability to compete and win this contract. Then also register on the National Supplier Database if you're not there. If your registration is about to expire, ensure that it's renewed. For those who have not yet been classified as either Ugandan or foreign, you probably also need to make that a priority, because you will not participate in a ring-fenced area if you've not yet been classified as Ugandan. So you can be able to write an email to the authority, and then we'll come and do a physical verification, verify your information, and then be able to classify you. And we are always ready to work with any stakeholder to ensure that you appreciate what your role is, what are your obligations, what are the things that you need to do in order to effectively participate and comply with the relevant laws. So with that, I thank you for the time and the attention you've given me. Thank you so much.
Transpiring at the Kampala Sheraton Hotel this morning is this particular risk supplier development workshop, and hosted by the Uganda National Oil Company. And well, there is so much to take home. And if you've not been say very interested in the sector, you might want to take a closer look. Because there is a lot of opportunities. Just because you didn't study engineering or didn't study a particular course, chemical engineering or something, it doesn't mean that you cannot take part or you cannot get something. There is, like I say, direct and indirect opportunities in there. And well, hopefully you have been able to pick on, you know, when someone is speaking, it's very good to pick on at least where is the opportunity, where can I pitch in, and this is something big. It's been ongoing and it's still ongoing, and even after 2025, when we drill, when we get the first oil, we are still going to be moving ahead. We're going to still need more. So business in this aspect is for you who's going to sit at home and identify which opportunities are going to be here even after 2025. That is what happens to entrepreneurs and business individuals. And if you cannot do that, hire someone to do it for you. Comes at a cost, but it works.
It's worth the price.
Yes, it's worth it.
You gotta show the price.
Yes, we have been listening to Kenneth.
Yes.
Who is from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and we have had a recap on what has been happening and also got an update on what's on ground.
What's on ground so far.
Yes.
And quite very interesting, because we drove back to ever since the first investment decision was made, in February, and we saw $15 billion entry into the sector, and of course, still looking down, $7 billion of the contract has been approved regarding that. And if we are to compare the percentages, 90, because the different participants, we see the ECOP, the Unoc, and so many others. And of course,
have very many people playing participate. Yes.
And we see that so far, now looking at here, that Tilenga, some of the scopes of coverage, we see that the construction work's already going on, the well pads are already being constructed, there is clearing of the bushes. I think that was the issue that caused much issues about environmental.
And then the compensations and infringement of human rights and all.
Exactly. And we also, besides that, what's on ground, we get to understand that so far, like the possible opportunities, the linkages, other sectors, like the oil and gas sectors, the development.
With the different sectors, transportation, housing,
logistics, tourism, and our SOAMEs, accommodation. So as an entrepreneur, there is quite
also employment. As of 2019, it was estimated that the oil and gas sector and this particular crude oil pipeline would generate about 160,000 jobs.
160,000 jobs. Wow.
To be created in Uganda alone. And as that was as of 2019, that was of 6th April 2019. And then as of 21st May 2022, over 5,000 Ugandans qualified for direct jobs in the oil and gas sector. Now, having listened to Mr. Bintu, he says right now we have over 95% of the employees being Ugandans in the oil and gas sector, which is very good, as promised. At least we are seeing that Ugandans are going to be benefiting from this sector, and this is what we've been looking forward to. So, well, for business owners, there is still a lot to be explored. That is for sure.
Really, for sure. And I feel like there is no excuse this time around. I mean, saying that we don't have the capacity.
I was excluded. I don't have the capacity. He talked about joint ventures.
Joint ventures, yes.
Talked about financing that is coming in from the likes of equity and Stanbic.
Yeah. And also talking about the fund, which is going to be, which was termed as the local content fund, for those farms that don't have the capacity to deliver what is required to comply to the standards that are needed. Yes.
So, well, we see that government has really done so much to invest in its people.
Yeah. Quite
even these workshops themselves are meant to help, and Ugandan out there know how do I go about this? Where do I start from? Where do I go? Who do I talk to?
Exactly.
And the fact that they say they are available for any questions, so that makes it a lot easier for me, who feels like, okay, it's not too late for me to join and protect something of this oil and gas
sector.
Yes.
And you know, there was this whole say about high-end jobs. You know, majority of people thinking that, you know, there is going to be some bit of exclusion. But still, you see, there is the human capacity to take up higher end jobs and like training these people to take up the high end jobs, or what we call could be like you want to be in the office, you want to partake in the engineering, because they have the capacity to train the Ugandans that are not in position to do those jobs to actually be in position to be a part of them.
Well,
yeah.
Briefly, that is what is happening, but we are still here with you because the workshop still continues. Every single address is going to be aired here, so make sure that you stay with us. Let's get into a very short break, and we'll be right back to take you back to Sheraton and see what is happening right there.
So, by definition, legal risk is the risk of financial or reputational loss, and it can result from either lack of awareness, or a misunderstanding, or an ambiguity, or a reckless indifference to the way and regulation, to the law and the regulation, and the way you apply that particular law and regulation to your business. So sometimes